Hi there. Today's concert is is in celebration of Women's History Month, which is in the month of March. And not only are we celebrating women in music and women composers, but it's also my birthday month. And in fact, tomorrow's my birthday. And I always like to play a concert on my birthday. So I'm celebrating my history as well with this concert. And one of the things I just want to mention in the idea of celebrating women and their achievements in music, I feel like I celebrate women every day, and I always include a piece by a woman when I play a live stream concert. But it's nice to just stop and reflect on the fact that until this past century, we didn't have women composers. I mean, there were very few earlier in musical history. They didn't write any pieces for solo cello. So if we want to play music of an earlier time by women composers, we need to play some sort of arrangement of something. So I am super grateful that now we have lots and lots and lots of music being written by women for all instruments, including solo cello. And I'm going to start with a piece by someone with whom I do have a lot of history, so I'm going to celebrate our history as well. This is the composer Elaine Fine. Elaine and I went to school together in the previous century. When we were at Juilliard together, she was a flute player, and now her major instrument is viola. She's also a wonderful composer, and she writes a lot of music for solo strings, for string ensembles. And the piece I'm going to play by her today is called Sephardic Suite. So Sephardic refers to the branch of Judaism that is not the Eastern European Judaism, which is Ashkenazi Jewish. That's what my family is. But rather the Jews that left the Middle East and went into Spain, Portugal, Italy. That's the Sephardic Jewry. And they really have a different musical tradition than the Ashkenazi Jews, the Eastern European Jews. And I think you're going to hear that in this piece right away, that there's this sort of, if we can call it Orientalist style. I mean, that's a very old-fashioned word, but this kind of exotic harmonies that I think you will recognize as sounding like Jewish music. So the piece is in 3 movements. There's an introduction, which is sort of soulful. The second movement is based on a dirge. A dirge is sort of a funeral song. And the dirge was originally written in Ladino, which is the archaic Spanish that was spoken by the Jews in the diaspora in Spain and Portugal when they were establishing their Sephardic Jewry there. And then they got kicked out of Spain in 1492. And this dirge is about that. So I'm not going to read the whole thing, but some of the words in the translation are: the cruelties of Bulgaria, the Turkish Armada, cursed be you, King Ferdinand, for bringing this upon our people. So clearly a lamentation about the Jews being kicked out of Spain. And then the last movement is called Veil Dance. This is the Sephardic Suite for solo cello by Elaine Fine. was the Sephardic Suite by Elaine Fine. So the next piece on the program is very specifically programmed back to back with the Jewish piece, and this is a piece by an Iranian composer. This is my own little stab at world peace by putting back to back music of two traditions that are fighting and have been for a while. And I want to remind everyone that we want to celebrate art and culture and all the beautiful things that these countries have brought into the world. So I'm going to play a piece by the Iranian composer Mina Arissian. She is from Tehran, and she did some of her study and schooling there, and then she did her graduate work in Toronto, where she now teaches. She's a pianist and a composer, and she has written this suite for cello. This is from 2020, and it is in 3 movements, similar to the Sephardic suite. The movements don't have titles, but the first movement is very lyrical and flowing. The second movement is a little bit like a fantasy, sort of a little quirky, and the last movement kind of builds up to the fastest music that we hear in this suite. So this is the suite for cello by Mina Arissian. That was the Suite for Cello by Mina Arissian. So my final piece on the program is a work that's in 6 movements, which really well balances those 2 suites that had 3 movements each. This is by my good friend and colleague, Nancy Ives, who is the principal cello of the Oregon Symphony. And she is also, in addition to being a wonderful cellist, she is a really accomplished composer. 2 days ago, I just heard a world premiere of one of her orchestra pieces, which was totally great. She wrote this piece in 2018 with some revisions in 2020, originally for herself to play as a cellist. So that's great to get the cello composer input, because you can write things that other people might not think of when you actually play the instrument. But additionally, she decided that she wanted to sing while she was playing, and so this is a suite for cello and vocal obbligato. It is in 6 movements that follow very closely the Bach suites in both movement titles and kind of feeling of the movements, mood of the movements. And if you listen carefully, you will even hear some snippets of Bach in this piece. So the first movement is a prelude. The second movement is an allemande, which she calls allamalgam, and it follows the sort of walking pace of an allemande. The third movement is a quick movement called courant, the running movement. The fourth movement is the sarabande, which is the slowest of the movements. For the fifth movement, instead of the Bach choice of minuet, bourrée, or gavotte, she's chosen a waltz. So waltz 1 and waltz 2 as the real dancing movement for the fifth movement. And then the sixth movement is, as you may have guessed if you know the suites, a gigue. I also want to mention that I want to thank Nancy and mention that the reason that I do these live streams is because of her. In 2020, when we were all locked down, everybody was trying to figure out what to do with themselves musically, and there were no concerts, there were no orchestra rehearsals. Everybody had their own projects, and then I broke my elbow at the end of the summer of 2020, and I didn't play for a while. And by the time I got back on my playing feet in early 2021, Nancy had started doing a weekly live stream, which is really a lot of concerts, on Tuesday nights. And here we are still with the Tuesday live stream. And she asked me first to play a couple of them in early 2021, and then to just take the whole thing. And so I've been doing this now for a solid 3 years, and it's thanks to Nancy Ives that I'm doing this. Since I'm going to sing, I'm going to have a drink of water. Okay, this is the 6-movement Suite for Cello and Vocal Obbligato by Nancy Ives. was the Suite for Cello with Vocal Obbligato by Nancy Ives. A little percussion from me hitting my bow on the piano at the end. Huh. I hope you enjoyed that program of music by women. Next month, in April, I will also feature a program of all music by women, and it is Poetry Month in April. And I've got two wonderful pieces that are solo cello intertwined with poetry, and I will have as my guest artists Andrine De La Rocha and Howard Patterson doing the poetry part. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll check all the comments and say hi to everybody later. Thank you.